Yes, I am live. I'm also going to be reading. I'm going in a different room though, I think. Because Kieran's still asleep. I'm doing this because I am also doing housework today. That's why I am not interested in ducks. Because I'm doing housework today. And so I need to focus on that since I'm going to be moving soon. So I'm going to be reading in a minute. I'm just getting dressed. There's some scruffy clothes. There. Just in case I did go on camera, but this is not audio then. It is visual. Okay, so this is Tracy Beaker, my mum, part 2. I'll start off with the last sentence. I'm so glad that her room is now a deep rose colour. She often has rose candles burning, so it smells like roses too. Her bed's bigger than mine, and she has a pretty white bed cover made of bunchy angled glass. That's material with little holes in the shape of flowers. When I curl up with Mum, I run my finger along the pattern. So you see, our flat really is like a little palace, though it's a bit damp. Mum's been down the council heaps of times about it, but they never do anything. She has to keep repainting the walls herself to hide the dark patches. The windows always get covered in condensation too. Mum made me puddle monitor, so I have to wipe around every morning and wipe all the sills with a J cloth. They go back and gungy if you don't. I have to mop every paw of the china dogs too, which takes a while. But we're on the 14th floor, so there are fantastic views. I'm guessing this is you, Summer. We pretended we're seagulls flying high in the sky. We spread our arms and make that funny squawking noise. We once saw Tyrone down below us. He didn't look big and scary at all. He looked very small and silly. Okay, little seagull, let's poop on him, Mum said to me. We didn't really, it was just pretend, but it was fun. We like it at Marble Tower, like I said. Everyone knows us. They know my mum, and so they know me too. I look very like my mum, apart from my glasses. Little, with black eyes and mad curly hair. But Mum's loud and funny, and isn't scared of anything. I'm much quieter and I worry about things. You're a girl in a million, says Mum. You're my girl. That's what a lot of people call me, Tracy Beaker's girl. They don't always remember my name. I'm Jessica Bluebell Camellia Beaker. Jessica because Mum just liked the name. Bluebell because that was the name of Mum's doll when she was very little. Camellia because that's the name of my foster granny. Cam, and she's lovely. And Beaker because that's my mum's name. I don't see much of my dad, but he knows my mum too, obviously. People know my mum at all the other places we lived before I was born. and all the places she worked, and all the different homes she was in when she was a little girl. My mum was in care until Cam came along and fostered her. I think there was once an actual television program about her. Yes, my mum used to be a little bit famous. My mum's boyfriend actually is famous. Well, he, he is if you're into football. He's called Godfrey. Does that ring any bells? You know, he's that big guy with the fancy hairdo and the six pack and the flash clothes. He used to play for a Premier League team. He was one of the stars. People still make a big fuss of him when he walks down the street. It's hi there, Sean, and how are you doing, mate? And you still look pretty fit. My, my lad's football draft. Have you got any tips for getting him into a team? Mum just rolls her eyes. She makes out she's not impressed by his football and his looks and his money, but she is really. She runs his own gym now and is doing really well. That's how they met. Mum joined the gym because she wanted to learn kickboxing. She thought it would be fun and a good way of dealing with her anger issues. My teacher, Miss Oliver, said Mum had anger issues. It was when Tyrone and his mates started picking on me at school. At first it was just calling me silly names like Curly Knob and Four Eyes and Geeky Beaky. And then they started flicking me with their fingers, which was surprisingly painful, though I tried not to show it. They couldn't do much to me in lessons, and I hid from them in the playground. I haven't made many friends at Duke Primary, so I went to the Peace Garden to read. It's my favourite place. It's got a hedge all around it so you feel safe. There are flowers and a small fountain and a bench and a little winding brick path. Best of all, hardly anyone goes there. But one lunchtime, Tyrone came looking for me. He barged right into the Peace Garden, his mates following, and my tummy went tight. But I tried not to show I was scared. I just went on reading. Why do you always have your head in a book? Kiki. Hey, I'm talking to you, said Tyrone, standing right beside me. I kept my head bent, making out I was too engrossed in my book to hear him. Then he snatched the book away, though I kept looking down, my eyes flickering from side to side as if I was reading a story written on my school shirt. That really annoyed him, so he suddenly shoved me right off the bench, onto the brick path. My glasses fell off, and I hit my head, and I grazed my knees. I didn't cry. I just lay there. It's your fault. It's your own fault. You shouldn't just ignore people, said Tyrone. Don't make out you're hurt. I was hurt, but I managed not to cry. I throbbed all through afternoon lessons, and by going home time, I had a big bump on my forehead, and my knees were still bleeding. What on earth happened to you, Jess? Mum asked as I limped across the playground. She gave me a great big hug. I just fell over, Mum said. I was scared I might burst into tears and I didn't want the other kids to laugh at me. Don't give me that, she said, holding me at arm's length. Some kid's beating you up. Who is it, Jess? I pursed my lips together. I couldn't tell her in case Tyrone stamped on me for being a telltale. The next time he knocked me over, he was standing with his mates watching me. He had his hands on his hips as if he wasn't the slightest bit worried. But all the same he looked a bit trembly. Like I said, everyone knows my mum. She's very small. Tyrone's already bigger than her, but she can be very, very fierce. Oh, you, Mum said, seeing him starting. Did you do this to my dress? Nah, said Tyrone, shaking his head, and his mates shook their heads too. Don't stand there lying your heads off. It's written all over your faces. How dare you pick on a little kid half your size? I'll show you. She went charging up to them, fists clenched. You're not allowed to hit us. We'll report you, said Tyrone's best mate, Pyro. And my mum will come and sort you out, and my brothers, said Tyrone. I don't think Mum would have actually thumped them, but she certainly looked as if she might. She didn't stop running, and Tyrone and his mates started running too, charging right out of the playground and down the road. I'll get you. I know where you live, you big bully Torags, Mum yelled. Then she came running back and gave me a quick hug. Don't, didn't Miss Oliver tell you that I'm off? She didn't see, I said. What sort of a teacher is she? Unless useless old bat. Come with me, said Mum. She pulled me across the playground back into the school. Oh, Mum, please, don't make a fuss, I begged. Miss Oliver wasn't on playground duty at lunchtime, so she couldn't have seen anything. And anyway, I was hidden away in the Peace Garden. Peace Garden? Mum practically had steam coming out of her ears. I'll tell Miss Useless Oliver she could be looking after the kids in her care. Please don't, Mum, I implored. But when Mum goes off on one, she won't listen to anyone, not even me. Miss Oliver was in the classroom sticking our pictures on the wall. We'd done a painting in the style of Van Gogh. He was a Dutch painter who used wonderfully bright colours in his swirly paintings. His favourite colour must have been yellow because he painted yellow beds and yellow chairs and lots of yellow flowers too. I did a picture of Mum and me. I dressed us both in yellow t-shirts and jeans, though we haven't actually got any that colour, but I drew us too small and there was just too much blue sky and green grass above and below us. It looked like yellow ladybirds. You practically needed a magnifying glass to see us. I knew Miss Oliver wouldn't put mine up. Hello, Jess. Hello, Miss Beaker, said Miss Oliver. She peered at me through her little round glasses. Oh, yeah, Jess. Looks as if you've been in the wars. Yes, in your bloomin' peace garden at lunchtime, she exploded. She's been sitting in your classroom all afternoon with a huge great lump on her forehead and 2 bloody knees, and you haven't even bothered to stick a plaster on her. What's the matter with you? Miss Oliver went red. She was white blonde hair and very pale skin, so it looks old when she blushes. Odd when she blushes. She hardly ever does. Even when she's cross, she stays very calm. I'm so sorry, Jess. I didn't see you properly, dear. You should have come and told me. You didn't see her? You need glasses, mate, said Mum. I just about died. You don't call a teacher mate, and it wasn't Miss Oliver's fault. I sit right at the back of the class, and I was leaning forward to do my painting, so she wouldn't have seen my forehead. And my knees were under my desk, blood dripping down into my socks unseen. I've said I'm sorry, said Miss Oliver, with an edge to her voice. I'll fetch the first aid box. Sorry isn't good enough. It's your duty to look after the children in your so-called care. I was brought up in care, and the care workers did their level best to keep a proper eye on us all the time. My mom wasn't around, and I didn't have anyone to fight my corner. But I'm here for Jess. I won't have my little girl beaten up by young thugs twice her size while you sit here playing with pieces of paper as calm as custard. You need reporting. I won't have it. I won't have it. By this time I wanted to crawl under the table. Miss Oliver sat very still, her hands clasped. Please try to keep your voice down, Miss Beaker, she said. I understand your concern, but I don't think we'll get anywhere by shouting at each other. Come here, Jess, and let me look at the bump on your forehead. Do you have a headache? I had a terrible headache, but it wasn't because of the bump. It was because my mum was yelling so loudly I shook my head. Your knees look very sore, too. Shall we clean them up with a bit of and put some antiseptic? Miss Oliver asked. I can do that when we get home. I'll take responsibility for my daughter now. Thank you very much, said Mum, pulling me back to her side. I just want you to control the kids in your care, like a proper teacher, and punish those boys who thump my Jess, especially the big brutish one. Miss Oliver quivered at the word proper. Was it Tyrone, Jess? She asked quietly. It might have been, she mumbled. It wasn't just one boy. I saw them in the playground. I'm sure the big, ugly one and all his horrible mates beat up my little girl. It was a miracle her glasses weren't broken, said Mum. Don't you have our no bullying policy at this dump of a school? We do indeed. So did Tyrone and Pyro, and Jack and Simon and Raj all beat you up, Jess. Of course they did. I just said, Mum insisted. Jess, Miss Oliver asked quietly. I bent my head so low my chin was digging into my chest. No, it was just Tyrone. And he didn't actually beat me up, he just pushed me off the bench, I whispered. Oh dear, well, I'll have a serious talk with him in the morning, said Miss Oliver. She looked at Mum. I'm sorry this happened to Jess. I'll do my best to make sure it doesn't happen again. She gave Mum a dismissive nod and went back to sticking another painting on the wall. A blue and green picture with two little yellow ladybird blobs in the middle. Don't you treat me like a little kid, Mum said. It's not good enough. I won't be fooled off like this. I won't have it. And I wouldn't have you barging into my classroom and shouting at me, said Miss Oliver. You need to deal with your anger issues, Miss Beaker. Anger issues? Don't give me that care worker rubbish. I'm Miss Beaker, not Miss. I'm proud of it. It's just me and my daughter, and I'm not letting you tell me what to do, you bossy old bag, Mum shouted. I took hold of her hand and pulled. Mum, please, let's go home, I begged. Please, please, please. She looked at me and saw that behind my glasses my eyes were blurry with tears. She squeezed my hand tight and let me pull her to the door. I won't have it, Mum repeated, but more quietly now. Her voice was a bit shaky. Hand in hand, we went down the corridor and out through the doors. Mr. Smith, the school caretaker, was sweeping up rubbish. He saw Mum's fierce face and the tears welling down my cheeks. Oh dear, have you been a naughty girl, Jess Beaker? He said, shaking his head and clucking, pretending to be soaked. He was just teasing. He's a gentle, smiley man who's friends with everyone. I gave him a wobbly smile. Mum ignored him. She clung onto my hand and we walked quietly down the street, not speaking. I kept glancing down at her anxiously. She saw and tried to give me a smile, but hers was wobbly too. We were almost running now. My forehead throbbed and my knees stung, but we were both desperate to get home. Then, when we thought we'd made it, we couldn't use either lift. One broke yesterday and the engineers were still struggling to fix it. The other had been working okay that morning, but now someone had deliberately jammed it between floors, so we had to walk up the stairs, 14 flights. It took us a long time, especially as we came across Miss Afghan sitting on the third floor steps, gasping. She's always been big, but now she's even bigger because she's going to have a baby. She can't speak much English yet, and we don't know her language, and it didn't matter. Mum heaved her up as carefully as she could, and we took an arm each and helped her up the stairs to the 6th floor. Then, when we found old Miss Reynolds on the 9th floor, struggling up the steps with a bulging little carrier in each hand, we carried them for her, and she gave me a mini Bounty bar for her from her big handbag. I don't actually like coconut, but it would have been rude to refuse. And when we reached the 11th floor, there was our friend Faudois trying to carry her little boy and his scooter. So Mum took him and I took his scooter, and I had a little go on it as we walked along to her flat on the 13th. I had to bend down because it's a very small scooter, but it was good fun, even though it made my knees start bleeding again. It's like we're going up the fairway tree, I said, dabbing at them quickly. We might meet Moonface or Silky the very next. Mum smiled properly then, and I hoped she'd calm down. But when we reached our flat, she took me to the bathroom and looked at my big bump and my bloody knees and screwed up her face as if she was going to burst into tears too, even though Mum never cries. It's all right, Mum. They don't really hurt that much now. I don't mind, I said, putting my arms around her. You poor little kid, she said, sniffing. Maybe we should take you to A&E and to check. You haven't got concussion or blood poisoning. I'm fine, Mum, really, I insisted. Well, I suppose it would be a bit daft to trail all the way downstairs and get the bus to the hospital and wait 5 hours and come back and climb all the way up here all over again, said Mum. I'd better be Nurse Beaker then. She sat me on the toilet while she bathed my bumpy head with cold water, then carefully mopped my knees with soap and hot water to get all the dirt out. I better wash my mouth out with soap while I'm at it, she said. I went a bit over the top with your Miss Oliver, didn't I? Yes, you did, I said. You were awful, Mum. People don't really wash their mouths out with soap, do they? My tongue curled up in my mouth at the very thought. Doesn't it taste disgusting? That's the point. My teacher did it to me once when I was really cheeky. It tasted awful, but I didn't let it on to Mrs. Vomit Bagley. It frothed all over my lips, so I licked them and said, yummy, yummy, yummy. Like it was a big treat. It didn't half annoy her. Didn't Mike go and tell the teacher off? Mike worked at the school children's home where Mum lived. He was the care worker she liked best. I didn't tell him. He'd gone nuts if he'd heard what I said to Miss Vomit Bagley and said Mum. But don't you worry, Jess. You can say even worse things to Miss Oliver, and I'll still come and stick up for you. I just want to be the best mum ever to you. I know, I says, hugging her. Mum's own mum, my Granny Carly, wasn't around much when she was young. She's not around much now. Last year she even forgot my birthday. Cam's like my real granny. She never ever forgets. You are the best mum ever, I kept having to tell Mum this. But I didn't mind because it's the truth. She pulled her face. Sorry, I embarrassed you, yelled at Miss Oliver. I was just so mad about that big bruiser. Wait till I get hold of him. Tyler, isn't it? Tyrone. He doesn't live in Marlborough, does he? No, he lives in Devonshire. But you can't have a go at him, Mum. He's got two big brothers, and his mum's much bigger than you, and ever so tough, I warned her. I'm not scared of them, she said. I'm scared of them. They'll really beat you up. Then what would I do? I'd beat them up worse, said Mum, her chin jutting. Oh, Mum. And I'll beat up Miss Oliver too if she doesn't look after you when you're at school, said Mum. But I hope she was just teasing now. I rolled my eyes. I wish you wouldn't always have to go at my teachers, Mum. I quite like Miss Oliver. She looks like a mean old bat to me. She does. She doesn't exactly make a fuss of you, does she? Weren't you moaning that she never puts any of your paintings up on the wall? She put my painting up today when you were having a go at her. She stuck it right up on the wall for everyone to see. Oh no, I wish I'd seen it. What was it of? You and me, I said. Oh, Jess. Mum looked really upset. If I hadn't been in such a royal strop, then you'd have shown me. Why do I always have to lose my flipping temper, eh? Perhaps you can't help it, Mum. You've got anger issues, I said. She gave me a look, and I wondered if I'd gone too far, but then she burst out laughing. Okay, well, I'm going to have to deal with them, aren't I? I promise I won't lose my temper like that again, okay? I stared at her. Yeah, right, I said. Mum can't help losing her temper. She's famous for it. But the next day she enrolled for kickboxing lessons in Jean Joffrey's gym. It'll give me an outlet for my anger issues, she said. And that's how Sean Joffrey became her boyfriend. Chapter 2. My mum's been going out with Sean Joffrey for the last 3 months. I keep telling myself that it's not that big a deal. Mum's had lots of boyfriends, one at a time, of course. I'd never two-time anyone, she says. I don't play games like that. She brings them home to meet me before it gets serious. It's like I'm her mum, and I have to give my approval. I haven't actually liked any of them much, to be honest. I mostly can't work out what she sees in them. It's easy enough to work out what they see in Mum. She's great fun. She always makes people laugh. She's not exactly pretty, but she wears dead casual clothes. Mostly jeans and t-shirts, but with red glittery high tops, so she looks very sparkly. They're her lucky boots. When one pair wears out, she buys another. Mum's favourite film is The Wizard of Oz. Have you seen it? They often show it on television at Christmas. It's the one about Dorothy and her little dog Toto. It's filmed in black and white at first, and then there's a hurricane and they get blown away to Munchkin Land, and it's so colorful there it makes you blink. Mum's great at singing the Munchkin song, and she does a brilliant Wicked Witch of the West cackle. Dorothy wears sparkly red shoes, and, spoiler, at the very end she clicks her heels together and says, "There's no place like home," and then she is home. When Mum is bored with her date, she clicks her own red boots together. She always gets bored with her boyfriends. She's very picky. She likes them to look smart and make an effort, and they have to have good manners and be respectful, though she can't stick it if they let her boss them around and try to please her too much. Don't ask me why. You'd think she'd like someone kind and gentle. You don't understand, Jess, she says. You need a man with a bit of oomph. Mum's boyfriends often have far too much oomph. They try to boss her around, and then there are big rows and she breaks it off. Yet, right at the beginning, she always thinks they're the one. She's mad about them and secretly hopes that they'll be like a dad to me, even though I've already got a dad. And that we'll be able to leave Marlborough Tower and get a lovely house and live happily ever after like in a fairy tale. But Mum can't find the right handsome prince. Her relationship never lasts longer than 3 months. Miss Oliver would say she had relationship issues. Mum had already broken it off with my dad when she found out she was going to have me. Was I a mistake then, Mum? I asked. The best mistake I've ever had, she said. Give me a hug, the bestest ever. She means that, too. She doesn't want to get back with my dad, but she tried to stay in contact because of me. But then he started messing us about, promising he'll come to take me out on Sundays and then not turning up. Mum can't bear people who break promises. So she put a stop to that, and I haven't seen him for ages. I don't really mind. I suppose I love my dad because he is my dad. But if he wasn't, I don't think I'd like him much at all. He's called Cy Martin, and he's very good looking with curly dark hair. Not much chance of me having long hair, fair Alice in Wonderland hair with my parents' worst look. He's a DJ at a nightclub. He used to be the DJ at Storm, the club in town, and Mum went there with friends from work. That's how they met. She thought he was the one. When she told me this, she raised her eyebrows and shook her head at herself. That's because heaps of other girls thought he was the one too. So when Mum found out that she was two-timing her, she broke it off. I suppose he should be my one too, seeing as he's my dad. I don't think he was ever that thrilled to see me, if I'm absolutely honest. He was never nasty. He never told me off, even when I turned the wrong knob on his music system and accidentally mucked it up. It was just that he didn't know what to do with me. If it was sunny, he'd take me to the zoo. But if it was rainy, he'd have to go back to his flat, and then we'd be stuck. He'd sit on his sofa, cracking his knuckles and giving me nervous little glances. I'd sit on his swivel chair and swirl myself round and around, and wish I could whirl myself right through his window and whiz back home. And I'd try hard to think of things to tell him. I'd rehearse it in my head. But when I actually said it out loud, it sounded so lame I started stammering. Dad would nod and ask questions, but I could tell he wasn't really interested. He ended up downloading all these tunes and asking me what I thought of them. It wasn't really my sort of music at all, but I tried to work out which ones he liked best. Usually the ones when he closed his eyes and shook his head in time to the beat. This is great, Dad, I'd say. I've got good taste. You've got good taste, little girl, he replied, pleased. Mum said I should have told him straight that I wasn't into that kind of music. She has no problem telling anyone that she doesn't like. But I wanted Dad to like me. Still, at least you can tell me anything, Jess, Mum said. I don't like Sean Joffrey, but I can't tell Mum that because she's nuts about him. She thinks he's the one now. It's not just because he's a celebrity. Mum knew him long before he was famous, when he was just a kid. Though he's changed so much, I didn't even recognize him. He knew me straight away, though, said Mum. You mean he was at the children's home with you? I asked, interested. No, he wasn't at the dumping ground a lot, I knew him when Cam first started fostering me. He was my mate for a bit. We used to hang out at this old empty house, me and these two boys. Did Cam like you? She didn't know, did she? Said Mum. I was a bit of a handful then. Don't you dare get up to any of the things I did, Jess. But that's not fair. Life isn't fair, said Mum. Anyway, these two boys. One was this weird little guy called Alexander, who was a total geek. Ever so brainy, he was bullied at his school. And then there's this big, fat, ugly kid, football. Miss Ulfa said, we must never call anyone fat or ugly, I said. But he was, and really tough. He was a bully, like Tyrone. Yeah, probably worse. Did he bully you and this Alexander? I'd like to see anyone bully me, said Mum. He was mean to Alexander sometimes, but I'd stick up for him. I wonder what's happened to Alexander now. He probably lives in Sultan Valley, king of the computer nerds. Still, I know what's happened to all football. The bully? Yes, but he's so different now. It's his gym. He's Sean Jaffrey. Football was just his nickname when he was young. I never knew his real name. Is he still F-A-T and U-G-L-Y? I asked, spelling out the words. He's still big, but he's not fat anymore. He's just very toned because he works out. And actually, he's not really ugly either. He used to look like a skinhead, but now his hair is carefully styled. He's even got his eyebrows styled. He thinks he's a real Jack the Lad now. If you don't know him, I suppose you think he was pretty fit. But you don't think that, do you, Mum? Well, he looks okay, but he's still a silly kid inside. You should have heard him going on about his football career. He's got these trophies and an old football strip on display in his office. Talk about a show-off. What were you doing in his office? He's invited me in for a natter after I'd had my kickboxing lesson, to catch up on old times. It was correct. It was just an excuse to let me know that he's a great big success now, said Mum. She gave a little sniff. Fancy old football. I couldn't help being impressed. He'd turned his whole life around. He's really made something of himself. So have you, Mum, I said. No, I haven't, she said abruptly. I'd better change out of these clothes and have a bath. So she let the taps run for a long time. She was in the bath even longer. I think she was upset at the thought that she hasn't made anything of herself, career-wise. She's had lots of careers. I don't think she's been good at them all, but other people don't always agree. For a while, when they were short of care workers, she had a stint at the dumping ground. Cam told me that she was very good with the children, but got a little bit too involved. I think it's great that she really cared about them, though she didn't always stick to the rules. She still doesn't. That's what makes her fun. Anyway, after that she went to college because she hadn't worked hard at school and needed to get some A-levels. She wanted to do media studies at university. She funded herself by getting an evening job in a wine bar, and it turned out she was better at working at the wine bar, and in the end she gave up on college and eventually managed the wine bar herself. She was good at it too. It was called something silly like the Grape Harvest. But no one called it that. Everyone called it Tracy's bar. But then she met my dad and started me. She had to give up running the bar for a while, and then didn't go back because she couldn't take me along too. She could have got a childminder, but she wouldn't. I'm going to mind my own child, thanks very much, she said. So she did my any old job as long as I could be strapped into my baby harness, or toddle along beside her, or ride my kiddie scooter, and come up with her. First she got a cleaning job, but I was a menace when I'd learned to crawl. I kept on screwing the tops off all the lethal cleaning fluids, which terrified Mum. Then she delivered meals for all people, and they all made a fuss of me. But one old lady tried to pick me up and drop me, so Mum decided it was time she tried something else. She got done a bit of gardening at the dumping ground, so she got a job as a gardener, and we both loved that. I played jungles in the long grass and picked the dandelions and daisies, while Mum mowed and dug and planted, but everyone wanted such neat, boring gardens, and Mum couldn't seem to manage neat and boring, so they stopped employing her. Her best job of all was being a dog walker. Every morning we took out 3 chihuahuas and a Yorkie, all owned by a mad artist lady. The chihuahuas were called Eeny, Meeny, and Miny, and the Yorkshire was Mo. They looked the cutest, silliest dogs ever, but the chihuahuas were spoiled and yappy, and Mo could be very grumpy. We gave Buster the pug a lunchtime walk, and he was a total sweetheart and trotted to heel very happily. In the early afternoon, we walked Rover and Rosie, 2 beautiful Labradors. They were gentle and loving, but you had to watch them because they'd eat anything and drooled whenever we passed a full little bin. In the late afternoon, we walked Nelson and Juliet. Nelson was a lovely staffy who was blind in one eye, and Juliet was a highly strung French bulldog who'd cost a fortune. You had to watch them too because they liked each other enormously, but they weren't allowed to mate. One way and another, we did an awful lot of walking. I sometimes found it quite hard to keep up because I was still only little, so Mum bought me a red scooter. It was wonderful, but Mo didn't like it. And one day when I went too near him on my scooter, he bit me on my ankle. It probably looked quite funny, me being bitten by a small hairy dog that looked like a floor mop, but it didn't feel funny at all. He bit me right through to the bone, and I had to go to the hospital for a tetanus injection. After that, Mum gave up dog walking altogether, even though I promised I wouldn't let myself get bitten again, and for a while we were quite poor. I missed these dogs so much, even mean little Mo. When we were out, I sometimes pretend I was walking my own imaginary dogs. I have 4. Wolfie, a long-haired German Shepherd, as big as me. Faithful, a long cream Labrador. Pom-Pom, a very girly Pomeranian. And Snapchat, a teacup Chihuahua. They even went to school with me and sat by my desk and ran around with me in the playground if I didn't have anyone else to talk to. I suppose I'm way too old for imaginary games, but I sometimes summon up Wolfie and Faithful and Pom-Pom and Tiny Snapchat when Tyrone and his mates start bullying me. Mum's last job but one was as a receptionist in a car sales room. We went out with one of the guys there, and he taught her how to drive. She got quite interested in cars. Cam's a writer as well as a foster mum, so when she got paid for a series of funny children's books, she helped Mum buy a little second-hand car. It's quite old, and we're not sure it will pass its MOT this year, but we couldn't really have a flash new car, even if we could afford one. It wouldn't last 5 minutes at the Duke estate. Cam's series didn't make as much money as we'd hoped, but she dedicated the first book to me, which made me feel very proud. Mum's always liked writing too, so she had a go at a children's book herself. She read me bits when I came home from school. I thought it was ever so funny but very rude. Mum sent it to Cam's editor, Maria, but she thought it was not that funny and much too rude. Mum got upset. She thinks you've got a fantastic, lively writing style, Tracy, said Cam. You're just a bit too outrageous, That's all. I'm sure she'll think about publishing it if you toned it down a little. I don't want to tone it down, said Mum. And what's wrong with being outrageous? I'd have loved this sort of book when I was little. I know you would, but you were a very odd child, said Cam. I had a very odd childhood. This gave Mum an idea. She decided she'd write her autobiography. Really? Said Cam nervously. You can't write whatever you like about real people, Tracy. They'll sue you. Let them try. I'll change their names a bit. You'll wait, Cam. This is going to be a real bestseller for adults, not just kids. It's going to be a mystery memoir. Oh, Tracy, said Cam, pulling her face. What's a mystery memoir? I asked. The diary books people write about their awful childhoods, all self-pitying and full of shocking details. Exactly, said Mum triumphantly. They'll sell shed loads. Jess and I will be set up for life. Mine will be the most tragic mystery memoir ever because I had such a terrible childhood. Do you really think so? Said Cam quietly. Yes, said Mum. It was total misery. I nudged her fiercely. But you were happy when Cam fostered you, weren't you, Mum? I hissed. Mum realised she'd been very tactless. She often is. Can't seem to help it. Oh, Cam, I didn't mean I was miserable when you fostered me, you banana. Mum tried to give her a hug. Well, I looked after you for most of this totally miserable childhood, didn't I? I meant before, when I was in and out of care. I didn't know which was worse. Living with my real mum was no picnic. Especially when she got that boyfriend who started slapping us around. And then there was that creepy couple who sent me back to the minute they realised they were having their own baby. And the jumper ground was dreadful. All those kids running riot and having tantrums and going ballistic. That was just you, Tracy, said Cam. I was a little angel compared to some of the others. Remember Justine Littlewood and how she took my friend Louise away from me? They were so mean to me. You'd have no idea, said Mum, shaking her head self-pitying. Justine Spiteful Littlewood is definitely going in my book. You could sometimes be a bit mean too, Cam pointed out. Look at the way you treated that dear little boy, the one who had the same birthday as you. Weedy Peter Ingram. Oh yes, him. Well, he was such a drip. He asked for it, said Mum. It's all coming back in vivid detail. I'm going to start writing it straight away. She worked on it for weeks. She sniffed over the sad bits, then suddenly burst out laughing when she remembered playing a trick on someone to get their own back. She read me passages. Some of them made me cry because Mum had been so unhappy. Some made me so snort with laughter. Some astonished me. Mum, you couldn't really have done that. You're making all this up, I said. It's all absolutely 100% true, she said. That's what I'm worried about, said Cam, when Mum showed her passages too. You can't write all this stuff about real people. Of course I can. People will be thrilled to be in a book, especially if it's a bestseller. But it wasn't a bestseller. It didn't sell any copies at all because it didn't get published. Maria turned it down. Mum and I went to see her in her office after school. Her author's books were lined up on shelves all around the walls. Look, Mum, there's Cam's, I said. I had a copy of each title at home, but it was still exciting to see them all in a row with Cam's name on the spines. I stroked them proudly. You can have a look at one if you like, said Maria. She's a very elegant, softly spoken lady with dangly earrings and her hair was in a top knot. She was wearing a cream sweater and beige trousers. The sort of clothes you'd think would get dirty in 5 minutes, though these were spotless. She had a photo of 2 little girls on her desk, blonde mini versions of Maria. I took my favourite of Cam's stories and sat pretending to read it, while I listened to the conversation anxiously, hoping that Mum wouldn't be too fierce. She got right to the point. Why aren't you going to publish my memoir? She asked. It's a very interesting read and a fantastic story, but somehow your writing style isn't quite right, said Maria. But when I wrote my children's book, you said I had a great writing style, Mum said indignantly. Yes, but not for a mystery memoir. It needs to be much more sad and serious. Besides, mystery memoirs are rather going out of fashion now. What? So what's in fashion? Mum demanded. Novels about strong women seeking revenge. That's right up my street. But by the time you've written one, I think that trend will be over. I'm sorry, Tracy. I know it's frustrating, Maria leaned forward towards Mum. In actual fact, I've written a novel myself. Well, a children's book. My two absolutely love it. I've tried to get it published, but no one thinks it's quite right. I know it's just how disheartening it can be. It seemed crazy the publisher couldn't even get her own books published. They were having a good chat about it when Maria's mobile rang. She looked apologetic as if she answered it. and then suddenly gasped. "Oh no, Ava," she says. "I can't believe it. She just walked out." Maria listened, shaking her head, screwing up her face. She ran her hands through her hair and dislodged the top knot so that the wisps escaped. "I'll come home straight away, darling." "Oh no, wait a minute. I've got this book launch party at 6, and I'm giving a speech. If only Dad wasn't away. Oh Lord, what am I going to do?" she wailed. "What's up?" asked Mum. "My au pair's had a row with Ava, my eldest. She had a bit of a handful, and now she's packed her bags and walked out. My two girls are in the house on their own, and they haven't had their tea, and my mother lives 3 hours' drive away, and I don't really know the neighbours properly." "You know me," said Mum. "Where do you live?" "Jess and I can pop round and I'll sort out their tea." "But I couldn't possibly ask you to do that," said Maria. "Of course you can. Don't worry, I used to work in a children's home. I'm good with kids, aren't I?" "Jess," said Mum. "Brilliant," I said. Maria waved. I don't blame her. She's only known Mum for half an hour, though she's known Cam for years and years, ever since Mum was little. She heard heaps about my mum. Maybe that was why she hesitated. "Maybe I better try an agency for emergency nannies," she muttered. But then Ava and her little sister would be on their own for ages before she came. "And she'd be a complete stranger," said Mum. "Oh right," said Maria, suddenly making up her mind. She turned back to her phone. There have been fierce, Mum." "Mum? Mum?" Noises coming out of it. "Shh, darling, no need to panic. I'm sending my friend Tracy round to keep an eye on you and Alice and give you your tea," said Maria. "Here, have a little word with her." She gave her phone to Mum, putting it on speaker so she could hear too. "Hi Eva, hi Alice," said Mum. "I hope you're okay with this. I'm bringing my daughter Jess with me. You can all play together while I make tea." My tummy went tight. I always feel a bit anxious meeting new children, especially if I have to play with them. I didn't like the sound of Ava, and Alice was probably just as bad. "Are you the Tracy who wrote the children's story?" Ava asked. "The one with all the rude bits?" Mum started reading it to us. "What do you think of it?" "I bet you liked it," said Mum. It was funny," said Ava. "Yes, isn't it? Your mum's missed a trick not publishing it," said Mum. What do you like for tea?" "Not boring or pasta or fish or anything with broccoli," said Ava. "We don't like any of that rubbish healthy stuff." "Well, I'll give you a surprise and I bet you both like it." "Okay then, you can come." "Is that okay with you too, Alice?" Maria asked. Ava seemingly wouldn't give the phone to her. "She's nodding," she said. So that was how Mum got a brand new job and made a best friend. Chapter 3. On the way to Maria's house, Mum went to a drive-through McDonald's. Mama says we're supposed to cook them something. "This is quicker and I bet they'll like it better," she said. I wasn't going to argue. I like McDonald's too. And so does Mum. We go there for a treat. Most days we eat pasta and fish and lots of broccoli because Mum is determined that I should grow up healthy. 5 minutes later we arrived at Maria's doorstep. It was a very posh house in a terrace of dream-painted houses. "Isn't it lovely," said Mum, clutching our big carry-out food. "We're going to have a house like this one day. You just wait and see." She bent down and opened the letterbox. "Hi there, girl," she shouted. "It's the Tracy Beaker takeaway service." She grinned at me. "That'll make them come running." It did. Ava was just as I imagined. She was a little bit older than me and looked just like her mother, thin and elegant, with long fair hair. She wore amazing shoes, a fantastic soft blue sweater, and tight jeans, both clearly designer. She had astonishing blue high heels too, but they were much too big for her. She wobbled when she walked. I think they were Maria's. Alice was younger and still wearing her school uniform. Like me, she was a tiny bit chubby, and she lost the ribbon on one of her plaits. She was blinking at Mum and me, nibbling her lip. I knew her tummy felt tight too, but she smiled when she saw we'd bought McDonald's. Ava looked pleased too, though Mummy doesn't actually allow us to eat burgers and fries, she said. Okay, said Mum cheerily. You two can just sit and watch, but we're eating them, aren't we, Jess? I nodded. Alice looked very upset. Mum's just joking, I said quickly. We've bought some for you too. We won't bother messing up any plates. Let's just eat out the boxes. And there's Coke or milkshakes. I wasn't sure which you'd like best, said Mum. I don't expect you're allowed them either, Ava, so you can have plain tap water. Ava ate a cheeseburger and fries and a Coke and a milkshake. She says they would be FaceTiming with their dad soon, so Mum quickly cleared away. One swipe and into the bin, another swipe and table wiped. Ava wanted to message her friends, but Mum said we should all sit round the table and play a game to impress their dad. That's what parents want their kids to do, play old-fashioned games, she said. We do it all the time, don't we, Jess? And we read and paint and bake. Boring, said Ava, yawning. I like reading, said Alice softly. I don't paint because of the mess, but I like drawing. I've never baked, but I wish I could because I love cakes. We'll play consequences, said Mum. Ava, find us four pieces of paper. Alice, 4 pens or pencils. Spit spot. Who do you think you are, Mary Poppins, said Ava. Will you give us a spoonful of sugar? Alice asked hopefully. No chance, said Mum, tweaking her nose. Ava and Alice had never played consequences before. Alice got a bit worried when we had to write down a man's name and then turn the papers over and pass it to the next person. I don't know which man to put, and I'm not very good at spelling, she whispered to me. Doesn't matter, it's just a name. It's just a game. And I'm not very good at spelling either, I said, as fibbing. I nearly always get 10 out of 10 when we have spelling tests at school, but I wanted to comfort her. This is the lamest game ever, said Ava. But when we came to read out the finished consequences, she fell about laughing. Mum is very good at ridiculous and frequently rude suggestions. We were all laughing, and when their dad phoned, Hey girls, what's all the giggling? Where's Angie? She's walked out on us, and Mum has to work late, so she's got this weird friend Tracy to look after us, said Ava. Ava, said her dad, you mustn't call people weird. Is Tracy in the kitchen with you? Here I am, said Mum, pulling her chair over and waving. I'm here with my daughter Jess. Maria's coming back around 8. Don't worry, your girls are fine. You like Tracy, Dad, said Alice. Guess what she gave us for tea? I gave them a little bit of salmon and broccoli and a baked potato, Mum said quickly. I hope that's okay. Sounds excellent. When Ava and Alice had said goodbye and shut the computer, they both looked at Mum. You lied to my father, said Ava. Yep, said Mum. I was being kind to him. What? Well, now he can relax and feel you being fed just the way he likes. But isn't a lie... But it's still a lie, isn't it? Said Alice. Not a great big whopper. I was just being kind to you girls too. Because if I'd faffed around making a proper meal, I wouldn't feel like baking. But I fancy making a cake now. Who wants to help? Me, said Alice. Me, I said. Ava hesitated. Okay, me too. Mum peered into the larder. It was like a little supermarket in there. Every shelf neatly packed. They had all kinds of fancy things we hadn't heard of, but Mum found softies and flour and custard sugar, and after a lot of fettering about, a packet of icing sugar, I found butter and eggs in the fridge. Okay, we'll wash our hands, said Mum. Spit spot, said Alice, giggling. And then we'd done our aprons, fellow bakers. We wore the father's blue and white striped butcher's apron. It came down to her toes. Ava wore Maria's apron, very crisp and white. There weren't any aprons left for Alice and me, but Mum found us tea towels. Right, ready, steady, bake, she said. Can we make red velvet cake? No, a lemon patella. No, a creme brulee, said Ava. A what? It's a profitable towel, she explained. You have them at weddings. Do you now? Well, we're not at a wedding. We're making fairy cakes, Mum said firmly. Fairy cakes? Ava rolled her eyes, but she seemed happy enough to take her turn at stirring and spooning the mixture into little crinkly cases on a baking tray. Then we all licked out the bowl. This is the very best bit, said Alice. While the cakes were cooking, we made the icing, and then when they were cooling, Ava went back to messaging her friends, and Alice took me upstairs to see her bedroom. I've got the best bedroom of anyone in Marlborough Tower. I know that for a fact, but it's still not quite as nice as Alice's. Hers is blue like mine, but the ceiling is painted with a pearly white moon and silver stars. I lay in Alice's bed to get the full effect. Just like we're floating in space, I said. Sometimes I pretend Basil's a spaceman, said Alice, holding him up and making him swoop through the air, his long ears flapping. Basil is the name of her blue toy rabbit. He's very big and soft and cuddly. He was an entire rabbit warren in his bedroom. Basil is the biggest. The smallest is little Titch, a weeny China rabbit only as big as my thumbnail. There were all shapes and sizes of rabbit in between, and different colours too, red and green and pink as well as white and brown. I often pretend they're all escaped and then they hide all over the house, said Alice. Or sometimes they've got rabbit flu and I lie them on their backs with their paws in the air. And I'm the vet and I have to give them medicine, nurse them back to health. I play all kinds of rabbit games. Ava says I'm a hopeless baby playing with cuddly toys at my age. Doesn't she have cuddly toys herself? She has bears, 3 of them. Does she pretend she's Goldilocks? I said jokingly. I couldn't imagine Ava playing a pretend game in a million years. They're those very expensive bears with a yellow tag in their ear. Ava says you're not supposed to play with them. They're more like ornaments. She's got fed up with them anyway and says I can have them. But I don't really want them. They look like they'll bully my rabbit, said Alice. I'll show you. She took me to have a peep in Ava's room. We had to be very quiet because Alice isn't allowed to go in there. It was a much deeper blue with lacy white curtains and lots of framed pictures on the wall and a special fitted wardrobe. She keeps it so neat. Look, said Alice, opening it up. Most of Ava's clothes hung on hangers. Her shirts and dresses, her jackets and her coats, the t-shirts were in a neat stack. Her jumpers too. And her jeans lay side by side, her legs tucked up tidily. Her shoes were on racks, or clinking the heels together, though they were already home. Goodness, I says, it must get annoying at times having a sister like Ava. Alice nodded in agreement. If I had a sister, I'd much prefer her to be like you, I said. Perhaps we can be friends, Alice suggested. Friends are better than sisters because you can choose them. Do you have a best friend, I asked. Alice went a bit pink. Not really. At school I'm in a sort of threesome with Katie and Angela, but they like each other best. I'm not even in a threesome, I says. All the other girls had made friends before I started at my school. Then we could be best friends, said Alice, if you'd like to. You don't have to if you don't want to. I do want. I couldn't quite believe it. I've been hoping to find a best friend for so long, and now, just like that, I had one. Mum called up to tell us that the cakes were cool enough to ice. So we went downstairs. Icing was the best bit. We dripped it on and then spread it like butter. Mum had found a big pack of Smarties for decoration. Our granny gave us the Smarties. We're only meant to have one a day, said Ava. One a day, said Mum. Oh well, suit yourself. It suited Alice and me to decorate our cakes with copious Smarties. I picked out the blue ones and made a beef for Basil cake for Alice. She was very touched. She made me a face cake with 2 brown smarty eyes and a big red smarty smile. Ava iced her cake very carefully indeed and designed a perfect flower. Alice and I looked at her enviously. Whose cake do you think is best, Tracy? Ava asked. Mum pounded as she finished adding icing to her own cake. She made a face cake like Alice's, giving it 2 eyes and a red smile. Then she went to the larder and brought out a packet of currants. She pressed lots of them around the edge, making curly black hair. It's you, said Alice. Yes, said Mum, and mine's definitely the best cake. You can't choose your cake. It's not fair. You're an adult, said Ava. Mum just smiled at her. She never sticks to any of the rules. My mum's Tracy Beaker. We were still quite full of McDonald's, so we saved our cakes to show Maria when we got home. She was very impressed. We had tea with her and ate cake. Mum and I had proper brown tea, and Maria and Ava had green tea, though it looked brownish too. Alice had milk. She wouldn't eat her basil rabbit cake. Go on, Alice. They taste okay, actually, said Ava, nibbling her flour cake enthusiastically. Yes, but I want to keep it. Jess made it for me, and it's lovely, she said. It'll go stale, silly. I don't care. I'd already had a mouthful of my face cake, but I kept the rest of it. It was only a little nibble. We both ate plain iced cakes instead. When Maria looked at her watch, goodness, it's late, and it's a school night tomorrow night too. Bedtime, girls. Say goodnight to Tracy and Jess, and thank Tracy for looking after you so well. Night, thank you, said Ava. Then she smiled at us. It's been fun, she added surprisingly. It's been the best ever, said Alice, and she gave me a hug. It's not fair. I don't want to go to bed. I want to stay up with Jess. She's my friend. Well, come again, said Mum. She looked at Maria. In fact, we could come permanently if you like, seeing as your au pair has done a runner. Maria had started to tidy the kitchen, wiping down the sticky surfaces. Then she threw the cloth into this waste bin. She saw all the McDonald's cartons inside and frowned. Mum sighed. So did I. I looked as if she'd blown it. Well, we'd have to establish a few ground rules, said Maria. But we could give it a trial for a week or so and see how we all get on. So now Mum works for Maria and we all get on splendidly. Mum likes it much more than the car showroom job, especially as she split up with her car salesman boyfriend and it was awkward still working with him. And I love it because I get to see my friend Alice every day. And Ava isn't too bad, though I don't like her anywhere near as much. I don't mind not having a best friend at school anymore, now that I have Alice out of school. It was great going to her house, and then it was great going back to our flat, just Mum and me. And now Mum has this boring old Sean Joffrey for a boyfriend, and he keeps coming around. He stays ages after I get sent to bed. I often can't get to sleep. I lie awake worrying about him. Still, they've been seeing each other for just over 3 months. He's already past his sell-by date. Mum will be getting sick of him any day now. And that's it for now, because my clothes are done. But I will read more for my next clothes. See ya. I will do more later. After dealing with these clothes. And I think Kieran is still asleep. Anywho, that's it for now. I will do another 2 chapters, I think, when I've done these clothes.